An Exposition of the Christian Faith, Book 1, Chapter 60. Now will I inquire particularly of the Arians, whether they think that begotten and created are the same. If they can call them the same, then there is no difference between generation and creation. It follows then that, forasmuch as we also are created, there is between us and Christ and the elements no difference. Thus much, however, as great as their madness is, they will not venture to say. Furthermore, to concede that which is no truth to their folly, I ask them, if there is, as they think, no difference in the words, why do they not call upon him whom they worship by the better title? Why do they not avail themselves of the Father's word? Why do they reject the title of honor and use a dishonoring name? If, however, there is, as I think there is, a distinction between created and begotten, then when we have read that he is begotten, we shall surely not understand the same by the terms begotten and created. Let them therefore confess him to be begotten of the Father, born of the Virgin, or let them say how the Son of God can be both begotten and created. A single nature, above all, the divine being, rejects strife within itself. But in any case, let our private judgment pass. Let us inquire of Paul, who, filled with the Spirit of God and foreseeing these questionings, has given sentence against the pagans in general, and Arians in particular, saying that they were by God's judgment condemned who served the creature rather than the Creator. Thus, in fact, you may read, God gave them over to the lusts of their own heart, that they might one with another dishonor their bodies, they who changed God's truth into a lie, and worshipped and served the thing rather than the thing created rather than the Creator, who is God, blessed forever. Romans 1, 24-25. Thus Paul forbids me to worship a creature and admonishes me of my duty to serve Christ. It follows then that Christ is not a created being. The apostle himself calls himself Paul, a servant of Jesus Christ. Romans 1:1. And this good servant who acknowledges his Lord will likewise have us not worship that which is created. How then could he have been himself a servant of Christ if he believed that Christ was created? Let these heretics then cease either to worship him whom they call a created being, or to call him a creature, for whom they feign to worship, lest under color of being worshippers they fall into worse impiety. For a domestic is worse than a foreign foe. And that these men should use the name of Christ to Christ's dishonor increases their guilt. What better expounder of the Scriptures do we indeed look for than that teacher of the Gentiles, that chosen vessel, chosen from the number of the persecutors? He who had been the persecutor of Christ confesses him. He had read Solomon more in any case than Arius has, and he was well learned in the law, and so, because he had read, he said not that Christ was created, but that he was begotten. For he had read, he spoke and they were made, he commanded and they were created. Was Christ, I ask, made at a word? Was he created at a command? Moreover, how can there be any created nature in God? In truth, God is of an uncompounded nature, nothing can be added to him, and that alone which is divine has he in his nature, filling all things, yet nowhere himself confounded with anything, penetrating all things, yet himself nowhere to be penetrated. Present in all his fullness at once and at the same moment in heaven, in earth, in the deepest depth of the sea, to sight invisible, by speech not to be declared, by feeling not to be measured, to be followed by faith, to be adored with devotion, so that whatsoever title excels in depth of spiritual import, in setting forth glory and honor, in exalting power, this you may know to belong of right to God. Since then, the Father is well pleased in the Son, believe that the Son is worthy of the Father, that he came out from God, as he himself bears witness, saying, I went out from God, and I have come. John 8, verse 42. And again, I went out from God, John 16, 27. He who proceeded and came forth from God can have no attributes but such as are proper to God.